Tonight's award theme, Preservation Is, celebrates how preservation is more than just historic buildings and landscapes. It is collaboration, innovation, it is forward thinking. Preservation is green, housing, jobs, community, engagement. It is sustainable, partnerships, active. It is beneficial. It is investment, opportunity, and above all, it is belief. The preservation and active reuse of historic buildings and landscapes allows the past to remain for future generations. It affords the opportunity for history to be a touchstone, an educational resource, and a conversation starter in our current time. Preservation is looking back in order to move forward with lessons learned and partnerships forged. Preservation Massachusetts is pleased to honor 25 projects, people, and organizations who exemplify the very best of what preservation is for 2019. Preservation encompasses more than just our built environment. Our natural environment, historic and cultural landscapes, green spaces, and parks influence how we build and interact with our communities and each other. The Frederick Law Olmsted Award recognizes dedication in the promotion of our cultural landscapes. Hancock Adams Common, a new 3-acre park, plaza, and tree-lined promenade in downtown Quincy, stands as a bold and creative example of the successful reimagining and enhancement of a historic New England city's downtown core and sets the stage for future development and investment. Hancock Adams Common's tree-lined pedestrian promenade and plaza pay tribute to the city's rich history and tie together 3 iconic landmarks: Old City Hall, Hancock Cemetery, and United First Parish Church. Serving as the new front yard for downtown Quincy, Hancock Adams Common creates a seamless pedestrian experience directly connecting the Quincy MBTA station with historic landmarks, public facilities, local businesses, multi-family residential developments, and serving as a vibrant destination in its own right. Mount Auburn Cemetery recently completed renovations of the Asa Gray Garden and Bigelow Chapel, 2 projects that revitalized the cemetery's historic entrance area through preservation and adaptation of character-defining elements of its historic landscape. At Bigelow Chapel, this meant preserving the historic structure while making it fully handicapped accessible, and adding space for public gathering for memorial services and receptions or educational programs, all in a beautiful contemporary addition. The glass addition connects the visitor with the surrounding landscape, including Asa Gray Garden, redesigned to incorporate some of the most important historic design concepts with details that reflect a quietly contemporary point of view. Preservation can be a unifying force, bringing people together to work on a common goal or challenge, and the results of those partnerships can be truly amazing. The Robert H. Keene Award recognizes projects that meld collaborative partnerships with creative and cutting-edge ideas for the rehabilitation and active reuse of historic buildings. Bethany Apartments in Hanover is a collaboration between 2 mission-oriented nonprofit organizations, the Planning Office for Urban Affairs and the Cardinal Cushing Centers, to repurpose an historic structure no longer needed into multifamily housing. It provides housing for families with a wide range of income levels, and 4 units are reserved for clients of the Department of Mental Health. This creates a community for people with diverse backgrounds. The project also received $296,000 of Community Preservation Act funds from the town of Hanover and created the new Cardinal Cushing National Register District. Bethany Apartments reflects the importance of preserving not just the building, but its history and its ties to the Kennedy family and Cardinal Richard Cushing, and their innovative support of housing and education of those with developmental disabilities. Of an abandoned factory in Leominster, Mayor Dean Mazzarella wrote, "The city had given up all hope of its restoration and reuse. The Jewett piano factory was headed in one direction. It was coming down. But luckily, this was not to be, and the factory stands now as Ivory Quays Apartments, a model example that demolition need not be the only option for important historic buildings that have fallen into disrepair." The development team, led by L.D. Russo, partnered with many to bring this landmark back to vibrant use. Serving its community once again, Ivory Quays demonstrates what a successful preservation project can contribute to a community, from preserving an important structure, rejuvenating a downtown neighborhood, providing much-needed affordable housing, and educating many on the benefits of preservation. The Fowler-Clark-Epstein Farm project not only restored one of Mattapan's oldest remaining buildings, it sought to address current urban challenges, including insufficient access to healthy foods, high unemployment, and a lack of green space. Historic Boston Incorporated purchased the vacant property from the family estate in 2015. HBI then formed a partnership with 3 other nonprofits: the Urban Farming Institute of Boston, the Trust for Public Land, and the North Bennett Street School. The goal was to transform the site into the Urban Farming Institute's headquarters and farmer training center. In addition to being a working urban farm, the site now provides an array of community benefits, including a weekly seasonal farm stand, gardening classes, and being a calming oasis in the middle of a dense urban landscape. At the project's opening, Boston Mayor Martin Walsh said, "What you see here is history. What you see here is public health. What you see here is open space. What you see here is job training, and they have all come together in an inclusive model of community opportunity." Located in the historic Springfield Armory, the Campus Center project at Springfield Technical Community College sought to use a never-before-occupied building at the center of campus and this National Historic Landmark site to fulfill the college's most urgent need for student space and accessible student services. The new Campus Center project transforms the Long Storehouse into a welcoming and lively hub for prospective, incoming, and current students, while demonstrating how preservation and adaptive reuse can support sustainability. One of the most sustainable strategies in the project is the preservation and repurposing of this building, which reduces the energy and resource-intensive manufacturing of new materials. Often seen as an impediment to development or innovation, historic preservation is embraced in this project to meet an essential need for student space at the college and to reimagine an extraordinary historic building. Preservation is about people. People that take on a challenging project, rally to stop a demolition, advocate for their community, and educate about the lessons of the past that made us who we are today. The Charles Elliott Award recognizes organizations and people with exceptional vision and excellence in planning for preservation and education. Since 1843, the Dorchester Historical Society has been dedicated to preserving the town's history and ensuring that, for future generations, that sense and awareness of the past will be secure. From 2015 to 2018, the Society completed exterior restorations of 4 buildings on their main campus at 195 Boston Street in Dorchester, including the William Clapp House, the Lemuel Clapp House, a barn, and a carriage house. The Clapp family property is significant as a well-preserved complex of Georgian, Federal, and later period buildings associated with an important early family. It also serves as the seat of the Society's efforts to engage and educate. Every year, thousands of people, from school children to senior citizens, take part in Society activities that bring to life the fascinating history of Dorchester and the larger development of Boston. When Jim Botticelli launched the Dirty Old Boston Facebook page in 2012 as a salute to the gritty city he once knew, he discovered that thousands of people were equally nostalgic and curious about Boston after World War II. Photographs were assembled from family albums, student projects, institutional archives, and professional collections, and it led to the publication of Dirty Old Boston in 2014. Mr. Botticelli, a former teacher in Boston Public Schools, has captured the city of the past to remind us of its transformation. This book is a rich collection of historic photographs, including both the people who comprised the city and places in Boston neighborhoods and downtown. Through this mosaic of historic photographs, we can see how the city of today evolved. People, the most significant part of our cultural heritage, made use of these places, sometimes vibrant, sometimes neglected. Thanks to Mr. Botticelli, the memories, nostalgia, and reality of a not-so-distant past are chronicled to educate and enlighten future inhabitants about dirty old Boston. At Schoolhouse Apartments in Lenox, Hall Keene brings its years of successful preservation and management expertise to another model project. The Colonial Revival-style building was constructed in 1908 and served as a school until it was permanently closed in 1998. It reopened in 2002 as an assisted living facility. Hall Keene took over in 2016 and began the transformation to Schoolhouse Apartments. Local professionally qualified trades were employed to carefully restore the exterior facade of the building, and the historic cupola underwent extensive refurbishing to restore the decorative wood trim. The renovation of the old Lenox High School building utilized carefully modeled preservation practices and techniques. Had this important building not been renovated, it would have remained partially vacant and continued to suffer from deferred maintenance. But now, thanks to Hall Keene and their team, it lives on. Former students are now residents, and they enjoy congregating in the community room and reminiscing about their days in the classrooms of Lenox High. Preservation isn't just about saving, it is about transforming. It is the pebble that begins the ripple effect, reaching out and inspiring projects, efforts, and endeavors never thought possible before. The Mayor Thomas M. Menino Legacy Award recognizes preservation projects that are transformative, catalytic, embrace the community, create partnerships, and revitalize the best of the past to make something good for the future. The Elliott Innovation School building project, and the collaboration of many people and organizations involved, positively defines what preservation is, because it preserved the longest continuously running elementary school in the nation, preserving 4 historic buildings, and preserves the present-day community so that it can continue to thrive. Schools are hubs of connectivity for children and their families, and they also have the potential to provide an important community resource to foster partnerships and community education. The Elliott School Project has formed partnerships with over 30 neighborhood businesses and organizations in Boston's North End to contribute to student learning and the life of the neighborhood. It demonstrates that preservation can be about communities, streetscapes, and sustainability through the reuse and improvement of a building's overall performance by balancing new technologies and materials while preserving historic character. On December 8, 1884, an estate building at 40 Berkeley Street in Boston was dedicated as one of the first YWCAs in the country, containing amenities, educational training facilities, and dormitories for 156 residents. A brick addition was added in 1902, and the original estate was replaced with a mid-century modern dormitory in 1953. These 2 buildings are preserved today as the Revolution Hotel. The hotel retains much of the character of the original buildings, using art, storytelling, interior, and architectural design to craft a unique experience of Boston's revolutionary past. In turn, the hotel's program makes an active contribution to its neighborhood, offering a restaurant with a courtyard, a cafe, and co-working programmed event space for both hotel and community use. Through art and design, the hotel is transformed into an experience that celebrates not only Boston's history, but the history of the building itself. Designed by the notable firm F.P. Sheldon & Son of Providence, Rhode Island, Fitchburg Yarn sits along the Nashua River and is an exceptional example of high-quality mill engineering from the first decade of the 20th century. Reintroducing this vital asset to the community provided much-needed affordable housing, enabling people to live in an inspired, unique, and uplifting environment deeply rooted in the history of the city, providing a sense of place and pride. Moreover, it attracts people to live, work, and play in downtown Fitchburg, reinvigorating the city while providing access to the MBTA commuter rail less than a mile away. And it is also a half a mile from the Fitchburg Art Museum. As a symbol of innovation for the city, this transformation reuse gives rebirth to a landmark structure and embodies the very essence of sustainability, making use of the original building materials that were used during its initial construction for a positive and proactive revitalization of this city asset. In 2011, Lowell Community Health Center purchased 200,000 square feet in Mill No. 6 of the Hamilton Manufacturing Company, with plans to use half of that space to consolidate their operations into a central location. Under Phase 2, the exterior restoration of Mill No. 6 was completed, and a new pedestrian bridge spanning the Hamilton Canal was constructed. This new bridge is accessed through an archway on Jackson Street and connects the new lobby that serves Phase 2 space and provides access to Phase 1. This quiet, contemplative site provides a perfectly serene location for a healthcare facility. Located in the center of a city that's a monument to the dynamic human story of the Industrial Revolution, the project has been a catalyst for change and investment. With nearly 500 employees and 50,000 patients being served annually, the facility has had a major impact on the area. Lowell Community Health Center serves more than 50% of the population of Lowell, including its most in-need members. The health center's outreach efforts have successfully engaged low-income residents who might otherwise remain isolated and underserved. The Sewell Building Preservation Project at the Dimmock Center created the Dr. Lucy Sewell Center for Acute Treatment Services, a 40-bed inpatient detoxification program that serves more than 4,000 men and women annually from 212 communities across the Commonwealth. The new facility is the direct result of a successful $16.4 million Building the Road to Recovery capital campaign, which was launched to address critical infrastructure needs in the building and the ongoing opioid epidemic. The Sewell Building was constructed in 1892 as an original building of the New England Hospital for Women and Children, founded in 1862. This was the first hospital in New England opened and operated by women for women. The beauty of the Sewell Building demonstrates to men and women with substance use disorders that we care about them and want to ensure their treatment in an environment conducive to their recovery. Preservation is, at its very core, emotional. There is a connection to the buildings, landscapes, and structures that surround us every day. There are feelings of grief when they are lost, and celebration when they are actively used, restored, and ensured to endure. The Paul and Nikki Songus Award recognizes people and projects that have displayed the highest level of commitment to historic preservation in the Commonwealth since 1988. Atop the summit of Mount Greylock stands a 93-foot-tall granite tower that serves as the Commonwealth of Massachusetts official Veterans Memorial. Topped with a globe of bronze and glass with beacon lights that are visible up to 70 miles away. The Veterans War Memorial Tower was erected between 1931 and 1932. The structure crowns Mount Greylock State Reservation, which was established in 1898. Since its construction, the tower has had chronic problems with water penetration through the exterior. Despite efforts over the decades to solve it, the tower was closed to the public in 2013. In response, the Department of Conservation and Recreation undertook a $2.5 million preservation effort with 3 goals: install a masonry joint treatment that would better seal the exterior envelope, improve management of moisture inside the structure, and make as much of the tower accessible to persons with disabilities. Reopened in 2017, the restored tower again shines brightly atop the summit in its original glory, honoring the sacrifices of the Commonwealth veteran community. The tower belongs to and was built for the people of Massachusetts, and this preservation effort embodies DCR's mission to protect, promote, and enhance our Commonwealth of nature, cultural, and recreational resources for the well-being of all. The rehabilitation and restoration of the Longfellow Bridge encompassed the complete reconstruction of the bridge's original 11-arch spans, the seismic retrofit of 12 masonry piers, the dismantling, repair, and reconstruction of the 4 signature salt and pepper granite towers, and the restoration and preservation of character-defining features. To correct foundation issues, the 4 towers were dismantled and rebuilt. Removal and shop restoration of the cast iron guardrail was a major element of the restoration project. A new pedestrian bridge was designed and constructed to allow pedestrians to cross over Storrow Drive to the Charles River Esplanade. The rehabilitation and restoration of the bridge is an extraordinary example of collaboration and teamwork, which is fitting for one of Boston and Cambridge's most iconic structures. Not only was the bridge made safe and functional for generations to come, the bridge's many character-defining elements were carefully restored. When these elements were missing, they were carefully replicated based on historic evidence by skilled craftsmen, and this was all accomplished while keeping the bridge in service for the Red Line, vehicular traffic, and pedestrian use. The renovation of Boston University's Miles Standish Residence Hall and Annex represents the template for smart renovation of historically sensitive buildings. Preserving an historic landmark and enriching the student residential experience were the focuses of the project. The historic Miles Standish Hall and abutting annex had served Boston University housing since 1949. The design approach preserved historic features while integrating modern amenities that foster a vibrant, living, learning community. This comprehensive renovation integrated important building systems, envelope, and infrastructure improvements. The renovation of Miles Standish Hall was an important achievement for both Boston University and its partners. The project team was recently honored with a Silver Award for building construction from the Design Build Institute of America. The project is on track for LEED Gold certification and preserves a beloved campus icon, readying it to proudly serve the BU community for years to come. All too often in the past, a wrecking ball was the fate of an old mill building, but now the most common piece of equipment you see is a construction crane, but it takes the work of many people. Working with the City of Lawrence, the Lawrence Historic Commission, the Massachusetts Historic Commission, and the National Park Service, Lupoli companies and their project team were able to restore the most significant block of the Wood Worsted Mill, the part of the building that faces the city's busiest intersection. The fact that even half of the wood mill stands is a testament to the past and capitalizes on the importance of understanding and appreciating preservation for the future. The office building was rehabilitated in a way that honors its past. It still shows the scars of where half of the mill was demolished in the 1950s. The project team was able to create a solution that repaired the facade as necessary, but didn't try to erase the past. Though the project was daunting, it had much support. This formerly abandoned building that once signified a neighborhood that needed revitalization now embodies what is possible with vision and team effort. It has created housing, jobs, and a vision for the future. Most importantly, it has sparked an exciting new chapter for the Wood Worsted Mill and for the city of Lawrence. Jackson Street Lofts is a remarkable example of the effective adaptive reuse transformation of vacant industrial mill structures located at the core of an evolving gateway city into quality, affordable, amenity-rich multifamily housing. Comprised of 3 separate mill buildings that were part of Hamilton Mills, Jackson Street Lofts is a contributing resource within the Locks and Canals Historic District. Preserving and converting each of these historic structures was complicated by unique design challenges and financial hurdles for Wind Development and its partners. As a multi-phased project, Jackson Lofts is a powerful example of a long-running, successful partnership between local, state, and federal government entities, historic preservation experts, and private sector development. The project in its entirety created nearly 1,000 construction jobs, with 38% of workforce hours performed by minorities and women. In addition, 70% of all new hires were local to the Merrimack Valley. The redevelopment of the Hamilton Mills into Jackson Street Lofts has solidified Wind Company's commitment to historic preservation in the city of Lowell. The brick structure that houses the lofts at Wamsutta Place was constructed in the 1860s as part of the famed Wamsutta Mills. At its peak, the mills employed 2,100 workers operating over 4,000 textile looms. But when Acorn toured the property in 2005, the current owners were bankrupt and unable to heat the building. Acorn believed that the beautiful bird's eye and tiger maple floors were one of the building's most important assets. Having not even submitted an offer on the property, they assumed significant heating bills so pipes would not burst during the winter and damage the flooring. Shortly after acquiring the property, Acorn was offered a sum of cash greater than the purchase price to strip the original flooring to be used in new construction projects. Though tempting, the offer was turned down, a decision Acorn has never regretted. The original beauty of the mill building has been restored, and the interior spaces created luxury loft-style apartments outfitted with modern amenities. The apartments feature the original bird's eye and tiger maple floors, stainless steel appliances, and granite countertops. Acorn's investment has inspired additional interest in other projects focused on revitalizing New Bedford's storied historic assets. When the town of Plymouth was confronted with an abandoned historic courthouse at the center of its historic downtown, a feasibility study was completed to determine if the 1820 courthouse could be restored and expanded to accommodate new town hall facilities. It was decided that restoring the courthouse would not only save a very historic building, it would also reinvigorate the center of Plymouth, where several buildings had previously sat vacant and deteriorating. The project required a meticulous restoration of the courthouse, including re-exposing previously painted brownstone trim, installing a new copper on the bell-shaped cupola, fabricating missing arch-topped wood windows, and recreating historic decorative finishes in the courtroom. Behind the courthouse, a 2-story glass connector separates the historic building from a new addition that houses a council chamber and multiple municipal departments. By bringing Town Hall back to the center of Plymouth, as opposed to constructing a new town hall away from the center, Plymouth has invested in the future of its historic core and enhanced a very walkable, vibrant downtown. The International-style building at 90 Washington Street in Salem was constructed in 1945 and 1955, standing directly opposite Salem City Hall. In 2015, motivated in part by the prospect of ongoing deterioration next door, and prompted to action with the publication of a city RFQ for lease and office space near City Hall, the owners teamed up as 90 Washington LLC and purchased the building. Originally planning to demolish and build new, but when estimated development costs exceeded what could be supported by the rental market, focus shifted to rehabilitation. By early 2018, 90 Washington LLC and the City of Salem negotiated a tentative agreement based on rehab. The availability of state and federal historic tax credits allowed the project to be financially viable. In contrast to the traditional and near-original work environment in City Hall, both staff and visitors are pleased with the outcome and reported a better appreciation for the building style and its inherent adaptability to its new role. The commitments of the city in their long-term lease of the building, the Mass Historical Commission and the National Park Service in tax credit allocations, and the owner and its sensitive rehabilitation of the building, it is a testament to the power of public-private partnerships to the preservation and appreciation of community resources. After 3 years of effort and over $3.2 million in acquisition and renovation funds, 1620 Capital has done it again with the restoration of 25 Broadway in the village of Sconset on Nantucket. 25 Broadway has been referred to by author and architect Henry Chandley Foreman as one of the quaintest buildings in the United States, in his book, Early Nantucket and Its Whale Houses. In 2015, 1620 Capital worked with Mechanics Cooperative Bank to arrange for the acquisition funding and subsequently a portion of restoration funds. At the time, the property was an attractive nuisance to the village of Sconset and had begun to rot, deteriorate, and sink into the ground. The restorations required were complex, given the close proximity to surrounding village homes and the need to raise the house and excavate a new foundation to set it back down on. The team laid out an ambitious plan to take on the challenge, while the community carefully looked on. The successful restoration of 25 Broadway has created a link between past and present. 1620 Capital and their team have made the old new and relevant again, while bringing a sense of community and vibrancy to the town's center and areas in which they have become involved. They are committed to becoming a leader in historic preservation for years to come. The Maple Commons Apartments project redesigned a very historic neighborhood in the downtown Springfield Lower Maple Historic District. The Maple Commons includes 11 separate buildings, comprising 173 apartments and a community building. The project spreads across 2 city blocks, and the 4-story buildings were constructed mostly between 1910 and 1917, primarily brick with craftsman-style ornamentation. The buildings were trimmed in cast stone and exhibit a high degree of architectural detail on their primary facades. This past year, Maple Commons underwent a substantial $35 million renovation for all buildings, led by First Resource Development companies and their team. The renovation program included for each building exterior brick restoration, new windows, and roofs. Maple Commons' transformation of a very historic city block during a time when the city was once again coming to life in the downtown area. Combined with the construction of a new casino and transformation of Main Street, the timing and reconstruction of Maple Commons, being within walking distance away, demonstrated and highlighted the importance of historic preservation. Maple Commons is also a recipient of a 2019 Preservation Award from the Massachusetts Historical Commission and Secretary William Galvin. When MGM Resorts International set its sights on Springfield, their goal was to maintain the city's historic values and to incorporate them into a dynamic new casino and hotel in the downtown epicenter. The integration of landmarked and historic structures with new components would frame the team's challenges for the duration of the project. The solution was for MGM to embrace the historic structures throughout the site and through creative, adaptive reuse, turn them into focal points for the new development. Prior to construction, the downtown site underwent a complex, multi-phase transformation, including the relocation of a 130-year-old church. It also incorporated an aging structure at 73 State Street. This Beaux-Arts-style building featured a granite facade and an ornate stained glass dome that were refurbished and incorporated into prominent locations of the casino. In addition to the partially salvaged buildings, 2 other existing buildings on site were kept in their entirety, including the State Armory building, damaged and vacant since the 2011 tornado. The Armory was utilized as an expansive special event and entertainment space. While the development largely incorporates existing historic facades, building frontage along Main Street was carefully designed within the context of the surrounding city with a modern gaze. From health centers to housing, from town halls to veterans memorials, each of the 25 honorees describes what preservation is in their own unique way. They are taking a piece of the past and making it part of the future. They show that preservation is not just about a building, bricks and mortar, or open spaces. It is about sustainability, partnerships, creativity, community, health, collaboration, and family. Preservation may have a technical definition, but it means something different to each of us. Indeed, the only thing constant is change, and as our world shifts and evolves, so too will preservation, practices, and methodologies. New ideas will arise, new projects and collaborations and partnerships will take shape. But there is one steadfast part of preservation that will endure, and it is this: preservation is important. As each of our award recipients and everyone here exemplifies, preservation is important to our past, to our future, to all of us. Congratulations to the 2019 Preservation Award recipients. Thank you all for attending this evening and for your support and belief in what preservation is. Good night.